Hello family, my name is Chris, I am your home gamer dad, and today I'm going to be talking about how to manage all of the expansions and base games that have so far come out for Transformers, the deck building game. And what I'm going to show you today is basically how to become one of my favorite type of Transformers, a combiner, moving everything from one over into one easy storage solution box. Now, all of this does fit in here nicely with room to grow, but there are a particular way that you need in order to make sure it all gets in there for not only an easier storage solution, but also future games. Playing as either Autobots or Decepticons does require different cards in the main deck. And if you're combining everything together, you may ask yourself, well, how am I going to be able to create that main deck? Plus, if you're playing as either solo or cooperative, competitive, or team versus team, all of that is going to go and be a factor into creating that main deck. So, besides just showing you how to move it all into one particular box, whether it be one of these or another type of storage solution that you have out there, I'm going to show you how to go into that box with everything that you've recently organized and create your main deck for your game. Now, I'm not going to go into a full how to play of the game. That's going to be a separate video. This is simply being a combiner, moving everything into one, and then taking that combination and making your main deck for your game. The longest part of this is taking everything from each of these individuals and smooshing them all together into one. Once you do it once, whenever you're ready to play the game and start making your main deck, it only takes about 5 to 8 minutes to go through everything, so it's really not that bad at all, and about 5 to 8 minutes or so to clean it all up. So once you do it once, you really don't have to worry about too much of it going in the future, and then the more you do it, the faster you're going to get at it. So keep that in mind as we do this whole thing here. With that said, let us transform, or convert, and combine. Before we begin, there are two things I want to point out. First off, as of this video, March 2023, these are the 4 sets that are currently available for Transformers the deck building game. You got 2 base games and 2 expansions. This is what I will be combining together for you in this video. If you have less than these, you can still combine them together in the way that I'm showing you, but when I talk about the multiple cards, you may not want to separate them just because you're going to need them to make your main deck. Second thing I want to talk about is each card will have one of these symbols printed on it showing where it originally came from. The Autobot insignia is for the original set. The Decepticon insignia is for a Rising Darkness. This one is Infiltration Protocol, and this one is Dawn of the Dinobots. Future sets will also have their own symbol in the bottom right corner of each card as all these symbols are located. So at any point in the future, if you wish to disassemble this combination of cards, you can easily do so just by matching these symbols together. You're going to want to begin by removing all duplicates from the maneuver and technology cards from each set. Each maneuver and technology card will appear twice within each one of the sets, so you're going to want to create stacks with only one of each card in it. For example, Teltron 1 will appear twice, so you just make a stack for each of them going down the line for each one of your technology and each one of your maneuver cards, making sure that each stack only has one of each card in it. As mentioned before, if you do not have all the sets currently available for Transformers the deck building game, it is still recommended that you do this separation, keeping all the duplicates to the side and then keeping your technologies and maneuvers one of each type at the ready for when making the main deck. However, again, if you don't have all of the sets, keep your duplicates on hand in case you need to fill out your main deck. Otherwise, you're going to go ahead and just stack together your maneuvers and technologies together, and they're going to go away back into a box, probably never to be seen again, but otherwise that we have these stacks for the maneuvers and technology. And again, this is only a handful of cards that I picked in order to show this example. The actual stack of all the cards are going to be much, much bigger should you have all the expansions for Transformers, the deck building game. After removing the duplicates from your technology and maneuver decks, you're going to want to go through each set, and then you're going to want to separate them into all of the following categories in a stack. Keep in mind, again, not all sets will have cards from each category. The category titles are all listed on the card, so you know where they go. The categories that you're going to want to separate into are technology, maneuver, ally, Sight, Relic, Robot Autobot, Autobot Boss, Autobot Initiative, Autobot Encounter Cards, which has Optimus Prime above Megatron, Autobot Damage Cards, which has Optimus Prime being damaged, Transform and Roll Out, Autobot Starters, which I'll go over what's in that deck momentarily, Robot Decepticon, Decepticon Boss, Decepticon Scheme, Decepticon Encounter Cards, which has Megatron over Optimus, Decepticon Damage Cards, which has Megatron being damaged, Rise Up, Decepticon Starter Cards, which again I will go over momentarily, Cooperative Schemes, and any special type of damage card you have. In addition, if you have Dawn of the Dinobots, you will have 6 different Wrath cards that show the Constructicons. These are starter deck cards for Devastator. You want to keep those to the side. You will have various turn sequence cards that you will get throughout all of your different expansions and main games. A Rising Darkness will give you a special scenario, the Garrus 9 Prison Break, and then Infiltration Protocol will actually give you a special boss scheme, Garrus 9 Prison Break. Keep those to the side. And then finally, if you have Infiltration Protocol, you will actually have all of the cards that go with that special scenario, whether you're on the Autobot side or the Decepticon side. In addition to that, you'll have 2 special boss sites that will be in Infiltration Protocol as well. All of these special cards that I mentioned, just keep them to the side for right now. They'll just be kind of packed up together. When you have all the cards from every expansion or main game that you have separated into their appropriate stacks, you're going to want to order Technology, Maneuver, Relics, and both factions of Robot in numerical order. So basically what that means is that all of the 2 value cards are together, all of the 3 valued cards are together, 4 are together, and 5. Maneuvers, Technology, and both factions of Robots only go between values of 2 to 5. Relics are ordered 7 and 8. Make sure these are in numerical order. They don't need to be in any particular card order, so these are all the 2s together. It doesn't matter what order they're in, so long as all of the 2 values are together. This is needed for main deck setup. Makes your life so much easier. Speaking in numerical order, you're going to want to do the same thing for the Autobot and Decepticon bosses. But instead of the values on their upper left corner, you're going to want to place them in order of their level. So you're going to put all level 1 characters together, all level 2s, and all level 3s. Again, depending on what expansions you have, these decks may be different sizes depending on whatever you have currently available. Also, anything that has multiple forms to it, so Six Shot, for example, has all of his different transformations. Try to keep all those together, just so if you ever happen to pull him in a game, you can easily get all of the cards associated with him. The Autobots and the Decepticons each have their own starter decks that they're going to be using whenever you play the game. The Autobots one is found in the original Transformers deck building game set, whereas the Decepticons are found in Rising Darkness. When putting together the starter deck stacks, I like to actually put them together in their appropriate deck numbers. This way I just have to deal out the top 10 cards, give it to a player, and they are ready to go. Each starter deck is going to consist of the following cards. For the Autobots, it's 1 Firepower, 1 Fix, 1 Patrol, 1 Reserve, and 6 Courage. For the Decepticon side, you're going to have 1 Firepower, 1 Fix, 1 Hunt, 1 Reserves, and 6 Wrath cards. There actually are differences between the 2 decks, specifically with the Courage and the Wrath cards. All of these pretty much functionally do the same thing, but the Energon abilities for Wrath and Courage are different depending on if you're playing as an Autobot or as a Decepticon. In either case, what I like to do is I like to take all 10 cards, stack them together in their 10 card set, and then just stack them on top of each other. In the end, you will have 5 different sets of starter decks here in the pile. So this way, all you have to do is just, depending on how many players you have, peel off the top 10 cards, hand them off to whoever's playing, and you're good to go. If you happen to have the Dawn of the Dinobots set, you will be able to play as Devastator, a huge combiner and probably one of the most famous combiners in the Transformers world. He has his unique starter set cards here that each replace the 6 Wrath cards from his deck. Simply put, you just take out the old Wrath cards, you put in each one of these guys, and they basically function the same way as a Wrath card, playing them for 1 power, but each one does have a special combiner ability that you can play to power up Devastator's strength. And then when they are in team mode, which is them as individuals, each Constructicon has a unique ability. I'd love to show this to you guys one day in action, but keep all of the Constructicons to the side so this way they don't get mixed up with your other starter cards. If you have all the current expansions as of March 2023, you're going to have 3 different types of damage cards that you can include in your game. Short Circuit, which is found in the Darkness Rising set, Stasis Lock, which is found in Dawn of the Dinobots, and T-Cog Jam, which is found in Infiltration Protocol. You will have 5 of each one of these damage cards, and I just kind of leave them together into one pile. I'll explain how to include these into your game when I do the How to Play video, which will be coming at a later time. I know not everyone is into plastic bags, but I find that this method works best for me when separating the cards. These are 3x4 plastic bags. I can actually get a large number of these off of Amazon, and as you can see, they fit the majority of the cards here. Technology, Maneuver, Ally, Sight, all go into their own individual ones. I combined all of the special damage cards into one. This bag is going to hold all my relics and all my cooperative schemes because these you're really only ever going to use if you have cooperative play or competitive play. As I play solo, this is not going to be something I use often, so I leave those to the side. All of the Autobot stuff will be within their own bags, with the Autobot initiatives and encounter cards sharing the same bag. And the same thing would go for all of the Decepticons, each one having their own bag, with the Decepticon schemes and encounter cards sharing their own bag. All of the extra maneuver and technology cards are packed together into a larger bag because there's going to be more of these that are going to go in as more expansions come out. The 6 Constructicons that go into Devastator's starter deck I've put together into one bag. All of the turn sequence cards I have packaged together just in case I need to get those for anybody else that would be playing with me. And then in a bag I just labeled Other, I have the Garrus 9 Prison Break cards along with anything related to the Infiltration Protocol special mission that comes with the Infiltration Protocol set. The starter decks do have a slightly larger bag just because there are more cards in them. Those are about a 3x6 inch plastic bag that I generally find in Target or ShopRite. It's going to be a while before any of these outgrow their bags. There's plenty of room in each one of them for lots of future expansions. The only ones maybe would be the Robot Autobots and Robot Decepticons. I might have to go to a 3x6 bag, same as I have for the starters. Otherwise that, plenty of room for growth in each one of these bags. So I'm going to bag all of these up into the bag shown, and then we're going to go on to the tokens and standees, and I'll show you how I separate those. As far as the tokens and cubes go, you're going to find these in the original and Rising Darkness game boxes. You're going to separate them into their various piles, and this is how they break down. This pile is going to have all your energy and move tokens to them. So it would be +1 energy and -1 move. Every one of these is double-sided, so you just need to take them all at a similar point and put them together. Your Energon cubes are broken into 2 different sizes, small and large. Small represents 1 Energon, large represents 5. You're obviously going to have a much larger supply of small Energon than you will large. Your victory points are broken into 3 different values, 1, 5, and 10. These are only going to be used in competitive play, so just keep all 3 together into one area and use them whenever you do that type of game. And finally, you have reminder tokens down here for start of turn effects and ongoing effects. Like the energy and move, these are double-sided, so as long as you have them both together in the same pile, you shouldn't have a problem. Again, these are going to fit inside of those 3x4 inch bags that I told you that I found on Amazon, but I do have a few smaller bags as well that I'm going to use for something like these or these tokens, whatever just makes it easier to fit into the bags. But if this is what you have, I would recommend using these. Keep the 1 and 5 Energon separate just for easy access when playing. The last thing you want to do is separate the oversized character cards and the standees of each of the characters that you can play as by their factions. You have the Autobots on one side, which all have red colored cards, and the Decepticons over here with purple color cards. Keep in mind, Devastator is much bigger in comparison to all the other oversized cards. Same thing for all of the standees. Each one of the character cards should have a standee that associates with it, with Devastator being, of course, much bigger than your average standees. So far, I'm able to fit everything into larger bags. These are about 4 by around 7 inches, maybe like 6.5, something along that ways. The only thing that doesn't fit right now is the Devastator larger card, though I can probably find a bag to fit that one card in. It is a little tight for the standee figures. I'll probably have to make a bigger bag for these once another set comes out. But for right now, at least these bags are big enough to be able to hold the oversized character cards with plenty of room to grow. Now that we've have everything separated and bagged up in their individual bags, let me show you how I put it all back in the box, ready to go for our first play. Everything you've seen so far will fit back into the original box for all 4 current Transformer deck building game main games and expansions. You just had to get rid of the plastic insert that came in here. So the way I like to organize this is, to one side I put a stack of all of the extra cards that I have. These are all the extra technology and maneuver cards. To the other side, I put all of the other cards that I listed, which are the Infiltration Protocol cards and the Garrison 9 Prison Break. I'll also put the turn sequence cards here, and Devastator's 6 starter cards. All of the Constructicons would go on this side. I would then take all of the Autobot associated cards. So that would be the Autobot starter deck, Transform and Roll Out, Autobot Damage, Autobot Encounter and Initiative cards in one bag, Autobot Bosses, and Autobot Robots, stack them together and place them to the left. To the right would then go all of the Decepticons, Decepticon Robots, Decepticon Bosses, Encounter and Decepticon Schemes, Decepticon Damage cards, Rise Up, and Decepticon Starter cards. Those all go to the right. So now you have the Autobots on one side and the Decepticons on the other. In the middle, I put all of my technology cards, my maneuver cards, allies, sights, the special damage cards, and the relics along with co-op schemes. Those all fit nicely in between my Autobots and my Decepticons. Keeping with the left-right theme, I'm going to put the Autobots up here. Devastator is going to slide in there because he's big, and then of course all the Decepticons go over there. Decepticon standees along with Autobot standees, filling in all of my tokens and cubes. And finally, even though I don't keep boxes, I do keep every instruction manual that comes with the games. Those all go right on top, and the lid goes right on top of that. And then if you notice, it is actually very flush. It does come out a little bit, but if you hold it in, maybe put something on it, it will fully close. And that, my friends, is how you separate all of the current expansions into one easy to follow guide for your Transformers, the deck building game. There's still plenty of room in here for future expansions, and this is also a way for you to be able to make your main deck without really any issues. Speaking of which, you've now done all of this. It's been maybe a day or two. You're ready to play Transformers, the deck building game. Why don't we go ahead and make the main deck based off of how everything is set up here. Transformers, the deck building game, can be played under several different modes: solo, cooperative, competitive, and team versus team. Before we go into how the deck is set up based off of what mode you're going for, there are a few universal ones that work no matter what type you're going to be. And we're going to start off with maneuvers and technology, because no matter what mode you play as, this is always how you're going to set it up. For each card type, you're going to want to take 4 of each value from both sets in order to start going into your main deck. So that means you're going to go through all of the 2 values, and either by choice, you can pick which 4 you want, or you can flip them over and shuffle them into a random selection and then take 4, and this is the beginning of your main deck. Anything you don't use goes back into whatever container you have them in for a later game. So again, we're going to take all the 3s, and just for this sake, I will shuffle it together. And then you take 1, 2, 3, 4 cards from that and then that goes to the main deck. If you don't happen to have 4 of a particular number, maybe because you don't have all of the different expansions or base games, you can add in the duplicates that we've pulled from earlier in order to be able to get your 4 cards per value in each one of these. So again, for maneuvers and technology, you're going to take all of the same value, you're going to shuffle them together or choose them by hand, it's up to you, and take 4 of each number, and this will be part of your main deck. Once all is said and done, you will again have 4 of each value, 2 through 5, giving your main deck a starting card of 32 cards, which we will continue to grow as we go through each one. So again, shuffle, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, and finally, boom, 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 1, 2, 3, 4. Like the maneuvers and the technology cards, the Robot Decepticons and the Robot Autobots will always be in your main deck no matter what game mode you are playing. But instead of adding 4 of each value, you're only going to add 3. Now, there is a possibility, it's actually better here in the Decepticons, that when you're going through your numbers, that cards will duplicate. For example, I have 2 Ravages here, and I think I might have 2 Laserbeaks as well. Yes, so Laserbeak does appear twice. This is because these cards do appear in different versions of the game. It is your choice if you want to remove them from your stack or leave them in there. In any event, just like with the maneuvers and the technology cards, you're going to either pick by hand or you're going to shuffle, and you're going to take 3 of each value, and that's going to go into your main deck. I'm not going to go and show them all, but the other thing I am going to talk about is that if you choose to play as a particular character, say you choose to play as Megatron, it is recommended that you remove this from your stack before picking your 3 cards from the number. You don't have to. It's your game. You can put them in there if you want to, but it's just a recommendation to remove whatever character you or other people are playing as from the particular numbers before they go into your main deck. All right, so I jumped ahead a little bit here just so you didn't have to see all that. That's the 4 value Autobots going into the deck. And then say I was playing as Decepticons, I didn't need to remove anything. I have the 5 value Autobots going into the deck. So now you have maneuvers value 2, 3, 4, and 5, 4 of each number. Technology value 2, 3, 4, and 5, 4 of each number. Autobot robots, value 2, 3, 4, and 5, 3 of each number. And Decepticon robots, value 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 of each one in here, bringing our main deck total up to 56 cards. Moving on to allies and sites. The allies you don't need to put in any type of numerical order. Instead, you're going to choose 6 randomly from all of these allies. Again, you can either choose them randomly or you can hand pick them in order to go into the deck. So you take that and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 allies. A thing to note here though is that Infiltration Protocol Special Mission has a unique way for setting up allies. I'm not going to go over that here, but instead of putting 6 random allies into the main deck, you're going to want to read the instructions for how to set up Infiltration Protocol because they do something completely different with the allies. As far as the sites go, you're going to want to, once again, shuffle these up or choose 7 of your choice at random or by choice again to go into the main deck. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sites going into here. A thing to note, if you are playing team versus team, one of the sites should be Decepticon Command Bunker, which is found in the Rising Darkness set. If it's not, then it's just 7 random things. But if you happen to have this, make sure you put this in there as well. This now brings our main deck total up to 69 cards. The following cards are going to change based on whatever game mode you play as, and I'm going to be starting with the Relics. Relics are powerful cards that really only apply to end game point scoring when you're doing competitive mode. If you're only doing cooperative or solo mode, you are not going to use any relics at all. Or at least that's what it says in the book. You can feel free to put them in there if you wish. But if you are doing a competitive game, you're going to separate your relics into values 7 and 8, and you're going to take 3 of each value, again, either randomly or hand-picked, and put them into the deck. If you are doing a competitive game, the deck would then be at 75 cards as opposed to the 69 cards that would be at for solo or co-op. For solo, co-op, and competitive mode, this really all depends on what faction you and the other players are playing as. If you are all the Autobots, you're going to hand pick or choose randomly 5 Decepticon schemes to go into the deck. If you're Decepticons, you're going to put 5 Autobot initiatives into the deck. Again, either hand-picked or random. For cooperative mode, you're going to want to also add 5 hand-picked or random cooperative scheme cards into the deck. If you're doing a team versus team game, you're either going to want to put 3 of each into the deck or 2 from each faction and the Garrus 9 Prison Break scheme card. Either way you want to play it, that is how it's going to be set up for team versus team. This makes the final deck totals for solo mode 74 cards in the deck, co-op mode 79, competitive 80, and team versus team either 85 or 86 depending on if you are using the Garrus 9 Prison Break. With the main deck all set up, be sure to give this a very, very good shuffle. Do it whatever you got to do, multiple shuffles and everything, because everything is currently stacked in the way that you put it in there. But once this is all shuffled up and ready to go, you are ready to move on to the main game setup, which I will be going over in a later video. Thing to note with the Autobot Initiative and the Decepticon scheme cards, I did mention that you put them right into the main deck here and then give it a shuffle. Inside of the rulebook for solo and cooperative play, no matter what game you play, you're always going to be making 4 stacks of cards. 5 will always be here, and then these 3 will change depending on your number of players. And then from here, depending on if you're playing solo or cooperative, you're going to actually stack scheme cards on top of these, on top of the bosses you put here. You don't have to do that. I like putting the scheme cards into the main deck and shuffling them out and seeing where they lay. But of course you can do that as well. Instead of adding the scheme or initiative cards to the main deck during the setup that you saw here, you can save those to the side and place one random one on top of each one of these cards. But again, all of that is going to be explained in a later video when I talk about how to play and how to actually set up the main game. Finally, you have finished your game and it's time to put it all away. Just like we did with the initial combination of all of the cards, you're going to be doing the same thing but on a smaller scale. You're going to separate all the cards into their respective categories, making sure maneuvers, technology, robots from both factions, and if you use any relics are in numerical order. You can then place each one back into their appropriate holding areas, whether that be a bag or separated by dividers, or however you wish you do it, stacking everything into the box as I showed you before, or however it is that you wish to do it. This way you are once again ready to either defend the planet or attempt to conquer it. Now, normally there would be things over here like your damage and your basic cards. And of course you have your starter cards in your hand as well. But ultimately it's all the same thing. It's dividing it into your different piles. So all maneuvers would go together, initiatives would go together. You would have all of your robots going together between factions. And then of course, once you have them, make sure they are separated by the number, and then you would go into the stack of cards that you did not use for the game, separate all that out into their appropriate piles as well, numerically putting them in with technology, maneuvers, the robots and things along that ways, and then they all just go back into the bags and into the box. Gonna be honest with you, I have done this several times already. It takes about 5 to 8 minutes to get a game going and roughly about another 5 to 8 minutes to put everything back into the box. This is all by myself. If you were there with more people, it will take less time than that. And there you go. That is everything that I have to show about combining all of the series together and making it as easy as possible to start up a game. And there you have it, combining both core versions of the game plus both the current expansions for Transformers, the deck building game, into one area with room to grow for new stuff coming out, and how to create the main deck for your game when you are ready to play. As I mentioned before, I'll be doing a full how to play of the game for solo mode in a later date. I didn't mention solo mode, but that's what it's going to be. And then after that, I'll be doing 2 different sessions, one for the Autobots and one for the Decepticons, maybe more down the future, depending on how much you guys like this. And if you want to see, an Infiltrator Protocol section or something where I'll be playing as the Dinobots or Devastator. In the other event, be sure to subscribe to the Home Gamer Dad so you don't miss any more that meets the eye action for Transformers, the deck building game. And then, of course, keep an eye on the Home Gamer Dad community page, because once I start getting closer to wanting to do the sessions, I have a feeling that I'm going to be posting some polls out there for you guys to maybe choose who it is that I should play as. Thank you guys so much again. I hope that this helped you organize your cards a little better, or maybe take something like this if all the cards were in all of them and make it less overwhelming, because it's like if you want to sit there and play, you want to use all the cards that you got, but it's hard to sometimes initially see how to do that. Now, inside of the instruction manuals, there were directions about how to combine things, but it's a little hard to understand, and I hope this visual representation of that really helps you out. If you have any questions at all, please leave them down in the comments section below, and I will get to them as soon as I can. As always, you guys have been absolutely amazing. Take care of yourselves and each other. We are family forever, gaming together. I do look forward to being able to show you how to play Transformers, the deck building game, and to go through a session or two to show you how it plays out. So until those actually come out, or until you see me in the next video, you guys take care of yourselves, and I will see you later.